Well, hey everyone, it's Rebecca Ruth. Thanks for joining me again today. Today I have Tiffany, and she is all the way in Hawaii. Hey, Tiffany.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me. So I'm not going to waste any time. Tiffany, go ahead and tell us, what you do in the industry.
My name is Tiffany, and I am a women's fashion designer. I specialize in everyday wear, and I do women who are 5'9" and taller. Myself or anybody, but that's kind of my specialty. That's more of what I'm known for because I'm 6'1" myself. And I do everyday wear, so I do like pants and jumpsuits and skirts. What I found when I first started sewing or first got in the fashion industry as a whole was that a lot of the stuff that I was even shopping for when I would go to the mall and different things like that, I couldn't fit them. I have really long legs. I have a 37-inch inseam, and I have sisters who are really tall, and it was just hard to shop. And I began just sewing. I was like, well, I can find tops and jackets, but I can never find pants. I can never wear jumpsuits without them looking like hot waters. So, I just began solving the problem really more so for myself. And then my sisters and different things like that. And it just became a thing, for me.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of super tall friends, but I have I have like a couple who are like 5'11", right at six.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a basketball player friend, and she's
Mm-hmm.
probably about your height. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and she used to talk to me about that. She used to talk to me about the struggle of,
Mm-hmm.
finding clothes and stuff to wear. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really cool that you specialize. So do you do any clothes for shorter women? Is it just for
Mm-hmm.
tall women?
No, I'll sew for anyone, but I used to be all over the place, and I just wanted not nothing against any other designers, but I felt like I wasn't special for a reason, because I was just sewing and different things like that. And I used to feel like don't become a niche or don't specialize in something, but honestly it's what's taking me a lot further, and it is a market out there. I get lots of women. I just made some pants for a woman who was 6'5", and she just ordered 10 more pants. She works at a regular 9 to 5, and she's like, hey, I don't have regular work pants, black, gray. She wanted every color. And I realized, okay, it is a market. It's a place for me in this. So I'll sew for anyone. But I love what I do. I love because it's a problem for me personally. And I think I used to feel like too, I had to do all these fancy things, because when you hear every day, you're like, because people do gowns and formal. But to be honest, I love that people repeat my garments. I love that you can wash them and wear them again and again and again and again. And, I like that. It's something I like about knowing that like you can get some good use out of what you bought from me.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's good. I think that's good that you recognize that, because I do think that there is pressure to kind of
Mhm.
be able to please everybody and be able to do something for everyone. And
Mhm.
honestly, you're never going to get that, I don't think. Especially as a designer, I think that's hard, that you could fit everyone's like mold. So I think it's cool that you did decide to kind of focus in. But of course, you have the skill to sew
Mhm.
for anyone, and you
Mhm.
have that
Mhm.
ability. But I think, and especially you being tall, it makes sense
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
you would kind of zone in on that. And
Mhm.
6'5", well, that's probably as tall as my friend. Probably, I just don't like
Oh wow.
picture her being that tall, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yep.
I really
Yep.
don't.
I
But
used to be the tallest, and then I
yeah,
now I meet so many women. I'm like, oh my goodness.
that's
I didn't
crazy.
know I didn't know that many women out there, who who are even taller than me, and I was the tallest, growing up and stuff like that. So it's
Wow.
definitely a challenge for sure.
Right. So when did you start your line?
I started sewing actually in high school. I took home ec in high school, and it became one of my favorite classes. I mean, I was running to this class. And then after that, I was just doing little projects here and there. And then I joined the military and went to college. And I still would like sew a little bit for fun. But in 2016, my husband, he was kind of like, you should really like make this like a thing. You know, I would do stuff for like friends and family and stuff. People always knew me to like have the skill of sewing, but I never really. So around that time, I was like, okay, you know, I want to make this like a business, a true business, you know. And then I began kind of formulating what's now TJL Collection.
TJL.
So, you know, I was sewing for a while, but the business portion came about around 2016.
Okay. And is the military what brought you to Hawaii?
Yeah, so I'm not in anymore. I got out last year, but my husband, he's active duty, it's been great for my business as well. But we're moving to Dallas at the end of the year, and that'll be home. You know, that'll be home, and that'll be where I'll set up shop, you know, and get back to face-to-face things.
Well, Dallas is a great city for fashion. I have a friend who actually tried to convince me to move to Dallas.
Come on.
She was like, I'm telling you, you need to go to Dallas. That's where it is. Like, people keep sleeping on Dallas.
I love it. You know, I love it. We visit a lot, and every time I go, I never want to leave. There's something about the ambiance of the city. You know, Hawaii's been great, but it's been like chill. It's been a place for me to aloha, you know, really relax and different things. And I went to fashion school here. So I learned draping, and, you know, I learned pattern making. I learned a lot, you know, in fashion school here. So it was great for me because I took that time away to really sharpen my skills.
Yeah, that's great. What is the fashion school in Hawaii?
They have the technical college, which is the Honolulu Community College. And then they have, if you want to like for merchandising, you can go to UH, which is University of Hawaii. So I went to the technical side.
That's so
just
cool.
To get the technical skills, which is good too.
Fashion down there. I didn't either. School down there.
I didn't either, but I needed something to do with my time. And my professors, they were great. You know, they were from Korea and, you know, some Japan. So I learned so much. I learned so much about manufacturing, and I learned a lot. You know, it's great for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've just started. I was watching, I don't know, on Netflix, Next in Fashion. And of course, the woman who won is she from Korea or China? I think she's from Korea.
I think she's from Korea.
And then her friend was from China. Right. And I was like, you know, I know about Asian designers, obviously, but I was like, whoa, they have a whole different aesthetic. They have a whole different way of looking at things. And I love how they pull, and, you know, how they pull their culture into a lot of what they do. I love that. I love culture. I love designers who design with culture in mind. So I was like, I really need to start paying attention to more Asian designers, because I was just so impressed with them on that show. And then of course I started following them on Instagram. So now I'm like a fan, a groupie.
And you know, I didn't like it here as much at first, because I was like, oh, it's just too different, you know, because we came from Jacksonville, Florida here. You know, and though they were both like hot tropical beach places, it was totally different, you know, totally different. But I ended up embracing so much about the island and everything that it has to offer. And I learned a lot too, you know, and I've worked with different fabrics here and learned different techniques that I think now will be great when I get to Dallas.
Right. That's amazing. So I had a question and I completely forgot my question. So this happens sometimes. This is how it is. It happens, because I had a question. That's what I was going to ask. Have you found yourself incorporating like the culture in Hawaii at all in your designs?
Yes and no. In a sense, yes. Some of the fabrics sometimes, but no, because most of my customers are still, I
In the
ship
US.
mostly everything. Yeah, they are. And I didn't want to change too much about my brand either because, we are going back. So I still ship a lot of stuff. And I think that was the hardest part about being in fashion school because, for one, it was only one other African American person in the program, with me, and had nothing to do with like my race, but as far as what I liked. And when we would do projects, I always felt like my stuff is so different, so different from everybody else's and stuff like that. But that was me staying true to like my own culture and my own identity and things like that. So, yes and no.
Yeah.
I just made sure I got the skills, right? The skills and the technical side, but I still definitely like my African print. I like, even if we use cottons, I'm ordering some African print, because I just want to stay true to me,
Right. Yeah, I'm originally from Africa actually, and
where?
I am from the DRC, so it used Democratic Republic of Congo, used to be Zaire.
Okay.
And so and so the funny thing is that growing up, I wouldn't say hate, but I would really like play down my African heritage and the culture and stuff like that. And now that I'm older and I have such a huge appreciation of African print and African design. So I think that's cool when I see it now. I really embrace it. I'm like, yes.
Yes, I love it. I was supposed to be going to Lagos this year, and they got canceled, of course, because of COVID. But now I pushed my trip back to possibly go in February. But awesome. I can't wait to go and absorb everything and really just, be in the culture, and I have a lot of friends there that I'm just so excited about it. And I order a lot of fabrics from there. Most of the fabrics I use, I get them directly from there.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I love it.
Will that be your first time to Africa?
That'll be my first time.
That's exciting. I always get excited for people when they're, when they're making their first trip to Africa, because it's really hard to explain the experience and just feeling and everything. And I just tell people, you just have to go. Like, it's hard for me to explain it to you. You just have to go. So that's super exciting. I'm excited for you.
Yes, I love it. And I love, I follow so many designers from Africa. I love how they work with cottons and then they conform to the body, right? It doesn't stretch. And I'm like, wow, so they are such great seamstresses. And that's what I admire, that they take wovens and they really you can still see shapes and forms of women and different things. Like, I love it. I just love it. So I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, you'll have to follow back up and let me know once we can travel a little bit. Well, besides, just, shopping, sewing for yourself and, wanting to, have clothes for you, what are some of the other inspirations for your line? Are there any designers that you really admire?
Yes. So I follow Kushni. Do you know her?
I don't.
Yeah, I love Kushni. So I love her. And it's a few Project Runway winners that I really like. And I follow them too. So that show has been great because it connects me to people. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's a few people that I like. Again, I do everyday wear. Do you remember a lady named Shar Glover from Project Runway? She did everyday wear.
Okay.
She made it to like the top 5. But for some reason, people who do like, everyday wear never really get to like New York Fashion Week,
I feel like people sleep on them a little bit.
They
because
do.
The thing is, you do need everyday wear.
You do. And it's funny because I met Keeney, right? Do you remember Keeney? He's from here.
No, honestly, so with Project Runway, this is my thing. I kind of like jumped around and watched season here, season there.
Okay. So Keeney, he's a designer that was on Project Runway, and he does like these big dramatic ball gowns. And I met him. He came to the college to speak with us, but
cool.
He has the everyday wear collection of Aloha that he sells too, because I guess just that repeat customer and keeping those sales going on the business side. outside of those occasions that people do spend a lot of money, I feel like I get customers daily versus, I get seasonal. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I like about my business model. But he even started an everyday wear collection, even though he's like more known for something else, just to keep those sales going, and
Right.
people can't, buy those things like all the time. Right.
Right.
So yeah, for me, inspirational wise, I love people who've transformed their stuff to hone it down to like have like sales, and so
Mm-hmm.
people can check out without it being so complicated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
Mhm.
I mean, it makes sense because I mean, a lot of other people have done it. The one that
Mhm.
the biggest, like the one that always comes to mind for me is, like Victoria Beckham. She
Mhm.
has, of course, her Victoria Beckham, like the luxury
Mhm.
line and everything like
Mhm.
that. But then she, went and did this other collection,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
an everyday person can buy. You can
Yes.
wear it every day. And I was like,
Mhm.
I think you have to be able to do
Mhm.
that nowadays,
Mhm. You
and kind of
do. You do.
diversify your line a little bit because
Mhm.
there's a
And
small.
that's
No, go
what I
ahead.
like about making the cut. I
Yes.
love that they did that Amazon thing, because it really
Hmm.
does. It helps you hone down to sell it,
Yes.
so it's not so complicated, and
Yeah.
people can buy it, right? And it makes
Right.
sense.
It
So
focuses
that's
on
what I
like the
like.
business side of it too. It
Mhm.
it helps you
Mhm.
to think about the business aspect a little bit
Mhm.
too.
It
So,
does.
which is also important. I think sometimes we forget that. We love the fashion and
Mhm.
everything and then we forget
Mhm.
like the business side. So I think
Mhm.
that's great. I think that's great.
Yes.
So I do know obviously that you and I chat a little bit about Runway to Life and the
Mhm.
nonprofit that
Mhm.
this um, this group, like the platform it's on and everything like that. And so I
Mhm.
know that part of your platform is empowering women. And so
Mhm.
I wanted to talk a little bit about that and tell me more about that.
So one thing that I do, I host lots of women's events. When I first began doing business, I would go to like events and it would say women's empowerment, but it was like nothing empowering about it, or it's like no true networking. It didn't always capture the introverts or the people who came along or whatever. It was like you left and you were like, I didn't meet anybody. I didn't meet anybody. Like, it was nothing empowering about it. So I kind of took the reins myself and began like having events and trying to solve like some problems with it. So I host several events a year. I do like vision board parties, and I try to do networking events. Like with COVID now, it's kind of hard, but I do fashion shows, and I do the fashion shows in my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. I fly all the way back and I do shows every year. And I make sure I bring local artists and local designers and local models and local makeup artists. And we really push the city. We really push confidence and things like that. And with my events, normally the smaller ones that I have, like when you come in, you can't sit next to somebody you came with. You got to introduce the person that you sit next to. I really try to break that barrier and push, us to have conversations, push us to talk about different things as women, because confidence starts from the inside first. I love fashion, but we have to be whole, and we have to be confident, the extrovert, the introvert, the fashionable, the non-fashionable, whatever have you. So that's very important to me. Before fashion, it's always important that we feel good.
Right, right. Yeah. One, my basketball friend that I mentioned earlier, who's really tall, she's actually from Memphis. So I think that's
Oh,
funny.
wow. I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Uh, but also, I think it's great. I love it when I see people using a platform that they've either been given or they've created, which is, what you've done. You've created a
Mhm.
platform and then use that for good. And I always say, when you have a voice, use it positively. And
Mhm.
one of the cool things about fashion is that whether people like it or not, whether they
Mhm.
admit it or not, they get
Mhm.
sucked into fashion. They do.
We do. Mhm.
They do.
We do. All of us
Right.
do,
We
right?
all do.
Mhm.
So it's like
Mhm.
fashion is such an awesome platform
Mhm.
to help you like springboard other conversation,
Mhm. Mhm.
so I think that's awesome that you do that.
Mhm.
What brought that on? doing those events?
I think, like I said, I would attend other things myself and then really, and then also too, I think just being in the military, like moving around a lot, trying to make true connections, like real connections. I didn't know people, like I didn't know anybody when I moved here and the several other cities I've lived in. But also too, I think it's just important to me because I have sisters. I just love, no offense against the men, but it's just something that I love about women and how powerful we can be. Um, and despite the prettiest person in the room, she has the insecurity too. The most fashionable person, right? She has the insecurity too. And I think once I started tapping into that, I just had to. I have to do things that bring us together. I mentor a lot of youth, a lot of girls. I definitely try to continue to do that year after year because it's just important, right? And I do etiquette classes, or I bring in some speakers to do etiquette classes so we can, correct some things early, how to present yourself to the world as a woman.
Right.
It's just important. And then being a woman of color too, I think that was hard, because you're gonna see me and I'm tall and I have big hair, I'm statuesque, so it was just important that what I said was gonna be heard because you've already seen me,
It's hard to avoid
too.
you. It's hard to not see you.
You've already seen me.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's why it's important to me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love what you said. I love what you said that even the prettiest woman in the room has insecurities. And I think that I know I've done it personally. I've just assumed that
Mm-hmm.
the pretty girl, the popular girl, whatever it is, oh, she has no worries. What does she have to worry about? She's,
Mm-hmm.
and I obviously have been proven wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't assume that anymore. But I think
Mm-hmm.
it's so
Mm-hmm.
important, and especially in a group like this, and when you're talking about fashion, and that's why, self-care, mental health, all of that, just because you're in fashion, just because you're a model, does not
Mm-hmm.
mean that
Mm-hmm.
there aren't insecurities, there aren't hurt, there aren't things. As a matter of fact, I think there's a lot of insecurities in
Mm-hmm.
fashion.
Yes, it's a vain industry. It is a very
It
vain.
is.
Oh my goodness,
We love
yes.
it, but we have to call it out for what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's
It
a
is.
very vain industry. You are judged by the way you look, period. And if it's
Mm-hmm.
clients, you're judged by the way your clients look, period.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's so important that people in the industry understand it's okay. It's okay to have insecurities. It's okay to say, you know what, yeah, I may look all put together on the outside, but inside I'm really hurting. There's really a lot
Mm-hmm.
going on inside. So I love that that you said that. And speaking of mental health and all of that self-care and stuff, so how, I'm sure you've dealt with pressures and stuff being in the industry already.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that pressure? How do you deal with that kind of um yeah, I mean, I guess I'll use the word judgment in a way,
Mm-hmm.
being in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the military, so I have a journal that I sell as well through my business. It's called Woman, You Are More Powerful Than You Think. It's a mental health journal that I created. And then I did this journal, and on the cover of it is lots of different women of different races with no faces, no lips, there's no eyes. And that's just because despite our skin, despite who we are, we all deal with this, even in fashion too. But during my stint in the military, I got diagnosed with anxiety and depression. And so I still seek a therapist, a counselor, now, like I'll continue to. So me, myself, I personally deal with like mental health. And then through this industry, it's hard because I think I battle a lot of times, with models and photos, right? You always want to present your stuff like the best way. then you look around and you're like, wow, women are not shaped like this and don't look like half my customers look nothing like the models I pick out. And that's the truth. That's the truth, because they kind of force us to like put certain things on the runway in a certain way. So for me personally, when I do my shows, I do try to make sure that I gather different heights, different sizes. I try to, unless I'm not the one booking the models, like unless I have to choose from their group, which is fine too. But if I'm hosting and I have the choice, I try to make sure I diversify things myself. So I think personally, like I try to diversify because I understand how it feels to be overlooked, to not be picked, to not feel like you're as beautiful, right? Because the industry makes you gotta be over 5'9", a certain height, certain look, and that's just not the truth. Like that's just not realistic, But I think I battle myself with it. I battle even how I look, what I'm gonna wear. When I gained weight, I just had a baby, and I was going through postpartum. I didn't take any pictures during my pregnancy hardly, because I didn't like how I looked, And everybody like, oh, you're so beautiful and you're glowing. No, I didn't feel, the vanity got to me, and that's the truth. Like even when I was carrying my child, I still didn't, until I felt like I bounced back, right? And I still haven't, I still haven't. So I don't know, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard for all of us.
Yeah. Sometimes, or a lot of times, you're your hardest critic, especially when you're in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I find that when you're in the industry and you are surrounded by that all the time, it's so much easier to be so hard on yourself, and just finding that kind of balance,
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're in
and let's be honest, like looks sell.
I mean, yeah, they do. That's what the industry's all about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I see it all the time, particular models. It could be a regular bodycon dress, they sell based on who's wearing them.
Right.
So, certain looks definitely sell,
Right.
And knowing that having a certain image yourself, to me became important.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you there. But I appreciate you being, so transparent about it, though. I think that's the biggest thing, is just allowing that transparency to happen, with yourself. And then of course with, with others. I think every time someone is transparent, I'm like, that gives somebody else permission to be transparent. Yes, as well. So I love that as well. So where can we find you on social media and stuff like that, where we can take a look at your line? And I love the journal. I didn't know you had a journal, so I want to check that out too.
Yes. I have a journal. It's been an amazing year for it as well, during COVID,
Right.
But my website is tjlcollection.com. And my Instagram is TJL_collection, and I'm TJL Collection on Facebook as well. And pretty much I have everything up there. I try to update as much as I can.
Right.
And I'm releasing a new line this summer. I'm going to be releasing a lot of new stuff. And I do custom work as well. I do custom work, but I mostly focus, on the tall girls who have a problem. But I'm here for all women, for sure.
Awesome. Well, Tiffany, I appreciate you so much. And I appreciate you taking the time to chat. We're on a 6-hour time difference, right?
Yes. Yes, we are.
So
That's why it's so bright over here.
So I appreciate you working with me to get this time together too.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I know that, we'll be speaking in the future, but again, I appreciate it. And I hope you have an amazing evening, and we will talk again soon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.